compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. A little different tonight. We are just a work session tonight. We do not have a formal meeting after that, so we'll take public comment now. And now is your opportunity to speak, or forever hold your peace. Anybody care to speak? We're moving right along. Presentations. Lauren, Tenafly's 125th scavenger hunt contest winners.
Whoa.
So Jeff and I put together, I'm going to show the video, I don't know where the video is, this scavenger hunt, and we gave it out at community night. And it's all of Tenafly's historical landmarks and famous people and interesting history and facts. And we have 2 winners, and I'm so glad that they're, at least one is here, the second winner is not here tonight.
Oh, hello.
But Ms.
So this
Pamela,
the second winner gets 6 shirts instead of 1.
Oh, all right,
Ms.
this is so
Pamela
nice.
Walsh is our grand prize winner. And I'm going to give, yeah, we could definitely, so she did the whole scavenger hunt, and she submitted it. She was the first one actually to submit it.
Yeah.
And you got a grand prize.
Let's see,
gift
putting
certificate
the
to
shirt
diner,
on.
And the mayor has made these shirts.
No, there has nothing to do.
Congratulations.
Nothing.
Thank you for participating.
Yes, thank you.
And if anyone wants extra scavenger hunts or t-shirts, come to the borough.
Thank you. It was really so much fun to do. I grew up in Tenafly, been here over 30 years. There was a couple of challenging things in there. I knew pretty much all of them, but there was a lot I still had to learn about Tenafly. It's been great. I love living here, my husband and I.
Yeah, but it's been 50 years.
Oh, who's
How
counting?
long have you lived in Tenafly?
Oh, that's true, over 50.
Oh, wow.
And my kids grew up here too, so I mean, it's a great town. I love doing this. This was a lot of fun. Mayor Rustin, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for all your years of service.
My
It's
pleasure.
been wonderful. You've done great for the town. And Mayor-elect, again, congratulations to you,
Thank
and
you.
I wish you well.
Thank you.
And look forward to being in town with you as well. And again, it's just a great town. I know a lot of families here and stuff from the schools and community itself, and it's just nice being able to celebrate with people I know and to still enjoy it, because it's you see the town changing and the families coming in, a lot of new younger families and with new ideas and things, and it's wonderful to see. It's kind of bittersweet too, to see some of the people I know now moving on and all, but I want to thank you guys too for all your service, because I know it's tough being on committees and having to lead the community, and we appreciate it. We
Thank
really
you.
do.
Thanks.
So thank you.
We're already working on the 130th challenge, 5 years from now, which will be even more challenging.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
5 years? I don't know, we still gonna be here? 5 years, I don't know.
If we're still alive,
I'll be alive.
Oh, yes.
I want to say one more thing. So when we were making the 125th, Jeff and I got to look at a lot of historical documents, and some of the historical documents were actually kept by Miss Walsh, and so she actually keeps a wonderful trove of history at Mom's school, and she's in charge of it. She organizes it, she takes care of it, so thank you for being the guardian of our history.
And that was fun too. I mean, I love to just think about the
And
history of
Miss
the
Walsh
town
was
and all.
the teacher of your children, my children.
And mine,
We're
my
a
daughter.
long time. We're not going to say how, but that was great.
Pam, you were around for Morm's 75th anniversary. Morm was the first
Yes.
elementary school to be built, and that was a nice celebration.
That was
Hopefully we'll all be
wonderful
around for the 100th.
Yeah, it was nice, and there was actually a gentleman came back. Every once in a while, people come into school, and a gentleman came, and he was went to Mom, and I guess he was about 85, and he was here for a reunion. So he asked, "Is there any way I could see the school?" And it was during the summer. So I took him, walked him around and stuff, and he was just wonderful. He was reminiscing about different parts of it. And the thing that got me, he goes, "I can't believe all the bathrooms are still the same, those more bathrooms and everything." And I'm like, "Yeah, they haven't changed yet." But just to hear some of their stories too, and it's just great, to be in the school and
Yeah.
to see all these different generations coming through.
I saw your favorite principal, Abby Bergman, not that long ago. She's doing very well.
Yeah.
All right.
Wonderful.
Well,
So
thank you
thank you
very much.
again, and it was great, so I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Just switch out for you, if you want.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
good.
Okay.
And
All
for
right, thanks
members of the
again.
governing
All right.
body, we just happen to
All right,
have,
it was fun. I look forward to the next
Right.
one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
we happen to have a few large and extra large shirts
Yes.
on the way out if you want to take one or two.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely,
so the-
hundred
They'll be in this
twenty-five.
box over here.
Well, the other prize goes to Aaron and Mark Raskemper, who are out of town this week. And so if it's okay with the council, I'd like to invite them for the next meeting and see if they want to come just collect their shirts and say thank you.
Good shirt.
Okay, next is the status report on borough's eligibility for grants. I believe we have a guest here.
Yes, thank you. Hi, thank you for
If you don't mind
inviting me back.
introducing yourself, please.
Yes, I'm Kelsey Howard, I work with Mazer, the Grants and Funding Services Coordinator, so, we have been tasked with looking at the borough's capital budget and five-year plan, as well as funding options for the senior center programming and projects. So you should all have, a multiple page spreadsheet in front of you. The first page, I'm gonna slide over here just so I
Please.
put my papers down. The first spreadsheet is items to be funded, so that shows the items that were listed on the plans and the source, the 2019 capital budget, the five-year plan. And the last column is potential funding programs. And then the third page starts program details, so that has details on each of these potential funding programs. And under funding items, we kind of cross-reference, so you can see what the potential funding programs are for each item to be funded, as well as the program details and the corresponding funding items. The last column of this program details spreadsheet has contact notes, so we did reach out to each program if we were, if we questioned whether Tenafly or the senior center or the particular item to be funded was eligible. We didn't receive responses for everyone, so it might say eligibility unconfirmed or no response. The
But you
next.
do have some that
What is
say,
item description of when you have none, it means you don't have a description?
That was just if we clarified certain things if we needed to when we met with Susan and Lizette and Omar.
Yeah,
So not applicable is just, we didn't feel like we needed to describe, we understood the item sufficiently, so we didn't need to describe it further.
When you say not applicable, it means our town wasn't applicable?
No,
The
no.
grant, or the grant wasn't applicable to our town?
No,
Because-
the item description was just to further clarify the item for funding. So that has nothing to do with whether a certain program is applicable to it. Where you'll see whether we didn't find a program applicable to the item for funding would be under the first page, the potential funding programs. And it says none found, if there's not an applicable.
and how long
funding
does it
program.
take to get, for example, we had this replace ladder one
Mhm,
in our budget for 3 years.
mhm.
And I bet you, what is the status now with the assistance to firefighter grant?
The last time we applied, you were not awarded a grant, I believe
I understand,
that
but what's
round-
the status right now? Did we apply again?
You haven't applied again. The round is expected to be announced this month with a deadline in January or February. So one of my recommendations would be, there are a number of items that were in the 2019 capital budget and the five-year plan that are applicable to the Assistance to Firefighters grant. Typically with that program, the vehicles are highly competitive. The last time we applied for Tenafly, they didn't award any grants for vehicles in New Jersey.
And when was the last time?
I believe it was 2017.
And what did you apply for?
We applied for two things. I believe it was the ladder truck. It was definitely a vehicle. It was either a ladder or a pumper, and possibly SCBA packs. So,
let's say we don't get the ladder truck, which obviously we didn't get, the ladder truck. Are you exploring other avenues for us to get other money for the fire department, that maybe that could offset that cost? Like anything else, like grant money for,
The primary, so with regard to the fire department, there's a couple other funding options here. The primary one is the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant. The other ones are smaller programs, like the Firehouse Subs program, which on the program's details page is number 3. That has an expected deadline in May, and that would be,
so this
that
was a
fine.
year ago we applied for the fire truck, so what did we apply for this year, since we did get the grant for the fire truck, anything?
no, because you didn't, it would, the only funding option for a fire truck would be the Assistance to Firefighters grant.
No, I understand that, but so, we don't get the big fire truck, but
Mhm.
then once we received notice, and that was 2018, we got notice we weren't getting the grant, right?
Yes,
So-
and the next round is going to be announced this month, so
So
deadline in
between-
early 2020.
So between 2018 and 2020, no grants were issued for fire trucks? Or for fire equipment or fire, nothing to offset fire costs? Like in 2019?
Not to my knowledge.
Really? There's that big of a space between them?
It's,
Well, they usually have an annual program.
so there are 5 annual programs in between.
That's what I'm trying to get
Five?
at.
Yeah.
You would have applied in 2017 and then again in
Mhm.
2018. Did you apply in 2018 is the question.
We didn't
Oh,
apply in 2018.
And what about 2019? Did we
Well,
apply for
that-
anything this
so
year?
that's
Well, this
coming
would,
up.
it would be this
Yeah.
round coming up.
See,
In May 2020?
Another question I have.
No,
if
for
I-
the Assistance to Firefighters grant is
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
due
have your matching
annually,
funds
so
in place
it's going to
before
be
you can apply.
announced in
Right. You can't
December,
just
this
apply.
month, with the
Okay,
deadline in
and we're
early
applying.
2020. We can apply if you'd like, they haven't announced it yet, but now would be the time, that would be my recommendation if you're looking for funding for that again, that you start
Another-
compiling the application components
May I
to
ask a
submit.
question?
So
For
let
this
me-
round.
Let me just follow up. So basically, what I'm saying is, so we have $1 million on the line for a fire truck. We can't get a grant for it. What I'm saying is, since we know that's the case in our fire department and we know there's a budget here, what I wanna do is try to offset other costs and maybe get grants for the smaller items. That way at least some money can be diverted towards the larger ticket item. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm.
Are we working like that? Are we looking at it by department? How are we setting up like the grants?
Well, so we have this spreadsheet with the programs applicable to what's in your capital budget. And so the recommendation would be to apply for the programs that are upcoming with deadlines that are anticipated in the next year. So it would be applying for the Assistance to Firefighters grant, and then the Firehouse Subs grant, and looking at what's most competitive. So for the Assistance to Firefighters grant, if, since they haven't they release a different set of priorities every year. But we can assume that vehicles likely are very competitive, and so we would likely apply for something else like SCBA packs or the other
I think
equipment.
what I'm hearing is you've got a list of our potential capital expenditures.
Mhm.
And we'd like you to explore every avenue that's possible to, even no matter if they're smaller items, in an effort to offset some of our costs.
So, may
Rather
I?
than,
Yeah.
ask everyone, you've got a list of, we'd like, to have the opportunity to get some of these grants. If that means applying for all of them, let's apply for all of them.
Okay.
Jeff and then Max.
Max was first.
Sorry. I-
Oh, okay. So, our senior bus coordinator is from Harrington Park, and we discussed with them. They apply. They have a bus, and the year after they got the bus, they already applied for another grant because they knew it's going to take 3 to 5 years for the grant to be applied, for them to get another bus, and we are in the same position. And what happened here is that we have grants for what is on a list, but not something that we kind of work out regarding the future stuff, especially stuff that goes 3 to 5 years. And there are green space basically grants that I don't see over here, because we know we have a problem in some of our parks that we might want to do it, if not next year, 2 years from now, we're going to have to do. We know that we have, and that should be, in my mind, the focus, not what is immediate and say, oh, I couldn't get it. Of course, you cannot get immediately, but the planning is to be like a 3 to 5 year plan, where another thing that I don't see over here is we have a lot of what we call historical buildings, and I don't see any type of historical building grants over there, and the whole point is, don't look at a business case that we have for next year and basically come back and say, well, they have this one, or you don't qualify. Because that doesn't help us. It's say, okay, over 3 to 5 years, this is what we will need for the town. And if we need that in 3 to 5 years, here are the list of grants that we should start, because it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get through them. And that's what I don't see over here. It's like, okay, I got I didn't find here. We looked.
Yes. So with regard to the bus, we did just apply for the New Jersey Transit 5310 program, which was requesting a minivan for your senior transportation
Yes.
program.
That was the example I gave you, and I know that we did apply.
Yes. For parks, the Bergen County Municipal Park Improvement Grant is on the program details page, starting on page 3. It's item number 10. In addition, there's the Green Acres program that's also listed on there.
And is that
Item number
applied for?
9. Yes, we typically apply for that every year.
Typical. Did we apply for it?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yes, we submitted an application in May.
All right.
I believe we're still waiting on that award announcement.
Yeah, we discussed with a few people when we were over here at the Atlantic City Municipal. We discussed with a few people. They got millions and millions of dollars. As we have Bergenfield got $2 million for their green spaces, and they're going to build 2 soccer fields plus with those $2 million, and they're going to spend only $375,000 out of their own money. Now, different type of community, but they talk to us about the process they are using in getting grants, and that's something that we'll discuss later on. And
Was that the Green Acres program? that
Green
they were talking
Acres,
about?
and
Yes.
they got Green Acres, then they got the open space money, and they got everything, which we had a field that we replaced over here. At the same time, there were open space and Green Acres money that we didn't apply for, and I don't know if we could got it, but we didn't apply, so we never got a penny.
Yeah, so how the Green Acres program works is you're only eligible for grant money if you're considered a highly or densely populated town or county, or if you're an urban aid community. So otherwise, you'd only be eligible for loan money. So that, I know we had pursued financing from Green Acres previously, and the borough decided not to move forward because of that restriction, that low interest financing wasn't as appealing to obtain.
We
But if
find
you were
ourselves
doing-
not eligible for a lot of these grants due to economics. Community development in particular is rather particular. In fact, we have to search for projects that are eligible for these grants. Open space is a little different. County has a lot of money, and
Yeah.
we really need to be more diligent about applying for money. Bergenfield, the fields we're talking about are new fields.
Yeah.
Okay, they do not necessarily give grants for replacement of fields, but there's money out there. And, these are big expenditures. If we can get grants for them, it'd be wonderful. Jeff, you
Yeah.
had your hand up.
Yeah, this may actually be for Susan as well, because one of the things I don't see on here that we've talked about and need are the recycling cans. We ordered the trucks, so we've spent 900 plus thousand,
600,000.
there's 600,000. I would hope for recycling programs that there's gotta be some money out there, so I don't even see it on the list.
Okay, I've researched that before, so you're talking about the trucks that.
We have
The
the
cans.
automated
Will pick
trucks
up
are
the-
coming, and
right.
now we're buying the recycling cans.
The canisters.
Yeah, I've gotten that request before, and in my research, we haven't found anything. There were some grants for like shore areas, but in this area or near certain distribution centers. But
We
I
didn't
can
even
add
get
that.
any grants for the trucks, and there are grants for the trucks, for recycling trucks.
Do you know federal environmental, anything like that for recycling?
From like the EPA, I haven't found anything. Yeah.
Speaking of environmental, there's a hazardous discharge site remediation fund grant that I think, I don't know if Cluster actually got it, but I know they were applying for their swim club for remediation. Is that something that we might, because we have potentially, something that may need to be looked at?
Okay. Yeah, if it's a hazardous site, there's, it's primarily loan money, but we can certainly add that program to the list. So for their swim club, they're getting money
Now,
to?
for our closed swim club,
Mhm.
there's a extremely large pool which needs to be removed.
Okay.
And it
And
does
at this particular
hazardous.
point in time, we don't know, what the makeup of the pool itself is. There's a possibility that it might require extra work because of the makeup, the ingredients in the pool. We're not sure.
Okay.
And the historical buildings and statues, we need grants to maintain, because those are the pride of the town.
Yeah, we got a grant for the restoration of the Roosevelt Monument.
Yes.
And we submitted this year for restoration of the train station
Good.
as well, so we're waiting for that.
I have to say,
Yes.
I'm finding this a little discouraging because this is our 2019 budget. It's coming to a close. We are entering our 2020 budget. And I wish we had more opportunity to sit down and talk to you and say what's eligible, and maybe we need to do that within the next month or so. Because I think
We're
that
not gonna get in time.
we're not gonna get it in
No,
time,
we're
so
not
I
gonna
wish
get
if
anything
we
in
knew
time.
certain things were available, maybe we'd budget for them with knowing the grants were available, instead of budgeting and then hoping a grant is available a year later. Do you see what I'm saying? We're like a little behind the ball with
So these items weren't in the 5-year plan?
not
these
some
are-
of them.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, maybe we could change the process so that as we enter into the next budget, we know that new things are coming up, for example, or new, we have an idea for a new skate park design, or a new green space, or whatever, a playground. If we know, maybe we could qualify for some of those kind of grants, it'll be easier to put them into the budget.
Well,
So you really have to, can I say something? What you should be doing, the governing body, is making your wish list. And then you present your wish list, and then they need to look for the grants. Because right now, when I look at what's in the capital, you're talking about, in the 5-year plan, it was like over 6.5 million. That didn't even include the roads.
Yeah.
And then you have to remember that you have to appropriate the full amount of whatever you're gonna spend here, because we don't know when we're gonna get reimbursed for the grant.
Right.
So it could be a year later, it sometimes could be a
But
little
the
more.
idea is to
I
try to
think
find it.
we're all over the board here. I think what the council should do is put together a list and have another meeting with you
Yeah, absolutely, we
to,
can revise this and.
to discuss, and if Lauren and Vanu and Jeff wanna have a subcommittee to put together put together a list, and then set up a meeting to discuss these things, rather than it's a hodgepodge what we're doing right now. We're not doing anything in a business-like way, so.
You should wait until all the capital plans come in from the department heads,
Right.
and then you should look over that, and then you need to see, okay, what we're gonna take out, or what is grant eligible possibly, but you don't always know everything that's gonna come up either. You have to wait to see the eligibility and all of that. So make your wish list, see if it's applicable, and then also see if there's anything you wanna add or take out, and then go
Mark,
from
did you
there.
have your hand up or out?
But the wish
Quick-
list is really important, and
Okay.
then, you know,
Mine's long.
Quick
I
question.
know, but then you have to figure out how much you're gonna put in.
Susan,
the
are all
first-
of these items 1 through 44 on our capital budget this year, or only the ones that say 2019 capital budget items 1 through 10?
Were these taken, where did this
So
come
the-
from? My
so-
list of what,
Yeah.
okay,
The-
so
In your
I made a,
five-year
spreadsheet from last year. This was just a preliminary capital. So I took all of the capital, items that were submitted in 2018, and they did a 5-year plan, all the department heads, and then I pulled out all of 2019, what they had indicated. Now it's a year later. Now we have to get their updated list and see if all of these items are still items that they would like. I'm sure most of them would. And then we have to see if anything is gonna be deferred, or if we're gonna, keep some of these, if something's eligible for grants. There's a whole, a whole
Yeah, I
process.
believe the
But I think being
2019
proactive is very good.
Yeah,
So I just want to ask my question a different way. So everything here that says 5-year plan is the 2019 wish list of the 5-year plan?
That's right.
2019 wish list,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, that's the stuff we did not put in.
And I'm sure that this whole conversation came out because I put under the good of the order hiring the grant writer. So we kind of trying to preempt that conversation
2020.
with this presentation. But we're gonna discuss over there what other communities are doing and how do they get all this stuff. And how do they include it in their budget planning? Because there is a whole process that you can work to do so. When you know what is available, they find out what is available, then based on what is available,
They back
you
into
you
the budget.
program and you prioritize your 5-year plan, so you get maximum help from the different county. The exact opposite is saying here that, okay, let me check this once. So we'll discuss that later on.
Manu?
Yes, I believe when I attended the last time, the task was look at the budget and tell us what's eligible.
Now, there was a grant that was mentioned at the last, our last meeting, which you were at, but for the senior center, the HVAC.
Mhm.
It seems the senior center didn't know about it, we didn't know about it, we just knew about it. How did that get to where it was on the agenda?
Well, actually, I just saw something came through my email today. Luckily, I got it because my emails are getting jammed up. But I think I have to give something back tomorrow related to the HVAC for the senior center.
Now,
Well,
the
I mean,
question
first of
is
all, it's not
different, the
here.
process, if you wanna
question
know
is
the process.
You know, why?
Well,
you
I
know,
don't know who
having-
gave this to. Like I prepared, I might have sent it to Lizette or somebody had it.
No, no,
No,
no, one
we-
thing.
we
Susan,
met
this
first,
is
we
not,
talked
he's
about-
talking about the process. A grant came in.
Right.
A grant came in where the actual beneficiary of the grant
Mm.
didn't even know that a grant was applied. They didn't ask for it, even though it might be needed. It was basically, then at a later line, it was told. So Vina's question is, how is this process that people that benefit from this grant don't even know that somebody's applying? Nobody talks to them, and it comes out over here for us to approve.
Who is them
and
and who? I don't know who you're talking about.
the
Senior center board,
Okay.
for example.
So they.
So something that is affecting the senior center, and I'm not trying to, you know.
No,
Or
no, I
the-
know
up
you're
a
trying
or
to.
the
court,
manager.
Yeah.
But
Or
I'm
the
trying to
manager.
understand the process of how it actually got on our agenda at the last meeting.
And we approved it.
Right.
I didn't put it there, so I don't know how it got
But-
on your agenda at the last meeting.
But that's
so.
the whole idea, the
Do we
process
know?
that has.
Yeah, what is the
Well,
process of?
The resolution
Well,
was
hold on,
required.
hold on a second. Omar,
Yes,
you prepare the agenda.
okay, so
Who told you to put this on the agenda?
so I received resolutions, I believe that resolution, I believe I got that from Mazer, I believe.
Yes, I
Yes,
would've
really-
provided.
and,
Okay,
I
so
just
now
put it
you
on-
know.
No,
Yeah,
no,
no, but
okay.
saying, how can they
Okay.
have a resolution
So-
without the senior center
so
knowing,
resolutions,
without us
I received
knowing,
it from
without anybody?
Well,
Whatever
so-
department, and I'll
so
just put it on the
I
agenda.
think what I'm hearing
Rhyme or
is
reason.
you decide, you found a grant that we were eligible for, decided to apply for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with this.
Nothing wrong with
And the
that.
resolution appeared on our agenda, and that is really the time to ask these questions.
No, but it was on the, see, there was on a part of the agenda There
Where
was
it
like
was
a
a done
fan
deal,
accompli, it was
pretty
like a, yeah, it was on the consent agenda, which usually things that everybody has an agreement upon, we don't even discuss. And, you know, it was not, should we do that?
Well,
It was in the approval
when
of,
things don't get put on the consent agenda unless they're on a resolution first, correct,
No.
Susan?
no, that's not.
Yeah, in this
Well,
case,
so
no.
put it
Well,
on
the
the
resolution, if
consent.
you wanted to, I guess, discuss that resolution, the opportunity was to do it
At the
during a work session.
yeah.
Pull it off.
And then if you wanted to pull it.
You do
then
pull
you
off
gotta-
a significant
at
number
that
of
moment.
resolutions to
but-
discuss.
Yeah, but
That
it,
one wasn't pulled off.
no, we
Because,
discussed.
because it was supposed to be good for the senior center, but we didn't know that the senior center didn't have discussions.
So I think the
So-
point that is
So
that
you wanna
we
know
were
ahead of
applying
time.
for a grant that, for the senior center, and they didn't even know about it.
Okay.
And
So-
it happens that it was good for them.
Yeah.
So it's almost like just applying for a fire
The good news
truck.
was that it's
Not
something
telling
we
the
would
fire
like.
department, we're getting you a fire truck, and then all of a sudden saying, we got you this grant for a fire truck. You know, what good is, you know, they should be involved, the department should be involved in the process. We should be kind of, as the governing body, at least loosely aware that there's a process going on for this.
That kind of falls on a BA, I feel like. That intermediary
apply
between the
for grants so
department and the
fast.
grant writer there.
But
We're
there
talking
was
about not
no-
applying for
question
grants, we
yet.
applied
But
for
there-
grants,
but there was no
and now we're getting
interaction.
criticized.
No,
for it.
no, no,
No,
no,
that's-
that's
no,
not what we're
it's
saying.
I know,
Completely
I know,
different.
We're
I know what
suggesting
you're-
the process needs to be looked at.
It's like when we
Well-
had in the budget, when we did the budget, all of a sudden the budget was a park for seniors to do exercises, and came in the budget. We had no idea, and how it came in the budget. Mark wanted to.
No, that's enough comments on this topic.
Yeah, I think I think we best move on.
Yeah.
Wait, I had one more question. All these second pages, do we need to tell you to reply to them? That's just, like the program details? At any point, do we need to say, go apply to this? Like, I don't
Well,
wanna.
I would consult the administrator and you
Yeah.
all to see what you want to apply for, yes. And then I
Absolutely.
would provide a proposal, but I can provide, so based on our conversations, and if there's a committee that's set up and you wanna add funding items to this first page, I can then revise this spreadsheet, we can meet and decide what you wanna apply for, and I can make recommendations on a schedule throughout the year of what to apply for.
I think
Let's
in
set a
that-
meeting in January then.
in-
Let's
in
get a
an
meeting.
effort-
This is ridiculous.
I think everybody agrees we want to be as efficient and as streamlined as possible. The time to discuss something like this, it's not at a work session really. I believe it would be appropriate to have a subcommittee that meets with the administrator and with our grant writer to discuss a list of this nature, and that committee then brings a fine-tuned list with all of the answers to the questions that you have to a work session. To try and go through I think something like this at a work session is one of the reasons we don't get out till 11 or 12
Yeah.
o'clock midnight, and nothing can stop. That's the real problem.
I didn't know that this was on this, like.
Well, no, I'm not, I've suggested, well, this is a new concept. You folks asked for it, rightfully so. I think we need to get more money from grants. So this is a start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your
very much.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us know in
Okay,
January.
now, who put this on?
Yeah,
Just out of
I'm available,
curiosity?
so- You work
To
with the
be,
VA.
the overview of 2019, 2020 budget.
Lizette said that I should talk about briefly
Yeah.
about.
All right, so
Yeah.
I'll just tell you.
Susan's going to give us an overview of the 2019, 2020 budgets.
Okay, well, 2019 mainly, because 20 is pretty premature to talk about right now. But anyway, year-to-date, we're doing very well. The budget was at 30.2 million. So far, we spent over $10 million in salary and wages. Other expenses are 13.4 million. We still have December's anticipated salaries, 1.1 million. Encumbrances, we have monies that we'll be paying and we're adjusting in the end of the year, such as like next year, LoSAP gets paid out of this budget. We have retro salary and wages, and we have some items that where we build our trust, like terminal leave, and then there's adjustments for like the capital improvement fund and items such as that.
Just bear with me. You said so far, what is the amount we spent so far?
So far, to date, as of today, we've
Yeah.
spent 23,867,000.
20, and that completes this November month?
That completes the November month,
So out of the $29 million budget, we have like
$30 million budget.
30 million, we have like another $7 million.
And we're not gonna have anywhere near that at the end of the year, because there's a
That's-
whole bunch of items that come out at the end of the year,
Yeah.
just so you know. So I don't
So
want you to think
what do you
all that.
expect? What do you expect?
What
The
do I
best-
expect at the end of the year?
Yes, the best expectation.
I expect about 1.2 million, but that is not done yet, because then next year, we have, any invoices that may come in for goods or services that were performed in this year.
Yeah,
We also have, some payroll items and OT.
yeah.
Then these are all things that are applied against the reserve year. And we still have to get through December. We're
So-
not done, we've already tried to have everybody that's in the borough start encumbering, which means committing funds for,
Yeah.
before the end of the year for
Based on your
December.
experience over so many years,
Mhm.
if we are at 23 now, what would be around the final number?
We're at 25 now.
No, we're
No,
gonna be, I'm
23
letting you
now.
know, we're gonna be somewhere around 1.2 million at the end of the year,
1.2 million less
left.
left, okay. So we're gonna have 1.2 million reserve approximately.
Well, and then there'll be more costs coming out
That
of that.
that doesn't include the costs that come in the first quarter.
Then with the
For
cost in the
December,
first
right?
quarter.
Right.
Right.
So with the cost in the first quarter, what will be the total left then, roughly?
It won't be that much, it'll be, it won't be that much of a difference. It
Will
won't be
not.
that much of a difference, no.
Will be pretty much,
Yeah, because we've gotten in the habit, since I've been here, of having our department heads and their staff set up the liability at the end of this year, keep it encumbered, so that when the bills come in next year, they've already been, charged against their departments by the
so
end of the year.
$1.2 million is not gonna be really left, it's gonna be covered by other liabilities.
No, that's probably gonna be about where we're gonna be.
So we'll be with, even with the, with the
Between
January,
one,
something like
maybe
that,
1.1, 1 point,
Around one.
around there, yeah.
around 1 million, okay, good.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay. What do you expect to have next year as a budget, roughly?
Well, I can't, we put this on, but I'm not going to be meeting with the auditor, unfortunately, until December
Yeah.
16th. The budget will have to go up for contractual obligations for this, any of the
Yeah.
bargaining units, the police and all of that too. And then I know that our capital plan is going to be increased. So we're talking about, in operating the capital improvement fund, where you put the down payment for our bond ordinances, that's gonna be a higher amount. This year we had, about 190,000 we, budgeted for. It's probably gonna be, it could be as high as a few $100,000 next year's,
Okay.
budget, depending on, contingent upon what we
you
do for
decide to
capital.
spend.
Yeah,
Do
and
you-
then, there's, we'll probably have an increase in bond anticipation note interest, because, we'll be taking out another ban
Yeah,
in, May. And then, if we do the capital improvement fund will be in there, but then the following year, 2021, is when you'll start seeing more
The-
higher principal levels, and we'll have to roll the bands into bonds, sell bonds.
so if I may, maybe you know, maybe you don't.
Okay.
Do we have an idea of the increase in taxes on an organic way through the new buildings or stuff like that? What do you expect to be?
So when we do the budget next year, there's 4 things that are gonna go into play, and we don't know yet, but we can say about where our revenue may be, where our operating expenses will be. But then when you look at the assessed valuation, which is one of the key components,
Yeah.
contingent upon what our taxable or ratables are, that affects the overall numbers. And I don't know what they are. Like 2 years ago, we had a $40 million increase in assessed valuation. Last year, it was 16 million. So depending on where we come
So
in.
do we have, that's what I'm saying, do we
I
have
don't
enough?
know.
We
I
don't,
wait
but we can
until-
anticipate, knowing what the real estate market is, which is, part of the factors is
Down,
new buildings.
yeah.
I mean, the ratables go up when an old house comes down and a new house goes up. We don't
Yeah.
have very much commercial. Obviously, things like Bottle King or the Clinton Inn, those have
They're not gonna
the
come up to
possibility.
20.
Well, Bottle King could be done in 2020,
Yeah, but it's,
But nothing's
yeah.
gonna affect 2020 budget.
No, exactly, so,
So the odds are that the increase in ratables will be 16 million or even less, because that's the trend that we're facing. And that, of course, puts more pressure on the tax rate because,
Yeah.
you know,
And
The
then the
organic
surplus
interest,
is
yeah.
what is the ending factor.
so you agree to the, pretty much like last year's increase of $16 million will be this year?
Well, I can't say anything until I get the number
there's
from,
no way of
from
telling.
Jack.
Sure,
Even if
yeah.
she did agree, it's
Right.
still out of her hands completely.
Yeah.
That's nothing that she can impact.
No worries,
Yes.
it's fine.
So
Okay,
then
all right.
we'll just take, and then the surplus is the last factor.
Let's go on to correspondence. The first item on correspondence is a letter from the New Jersey DOC saying nice things about the police station.
Our jail
wait,
is
wait.
fine.
You didn't get
We missed the
the
update
updated-
memo.
The,
Oh, I'm sorry, the administrator's update,
Administrator's
ma'am.
report.
Thank you, thank you.
I know I have to find them, but I'm ready to.
oh, good, I have the library later, so we can
Okay.
discuss it now.
So, I became aware of a rodent issue at the library, where squirrels were entering the building. So far, the exterminators were called, and then the DPW, fixed some of the holes in the synthetic stucco siding with foam. The library has indicated that they are planning, or would like to do, a $900,000 capital improvement project for next year, which involves improvements to the building, including the siding. And I don't have exact details.
Does that come out of their budget or our budget?
Well, there's some discussion about that.
Could I make a comment about the $900,000?
Mhm.
Only because I
You
attended
attended
the
the
library meeting. The rodent issue is not a $900,000.
No,
No.
this is the whole
Just to
thing.
clarify, that's
Okay, yeah.
$900,000.
It's not just the rodents, right?
$200 a squirrel.
Right.
I don't know the extent of the project yet,
Right.
because I don't have any of the details. But, right, the rodent issue is about $100,000
Correct.
according to them.
So
So-
that's the other 800.
So we didn't do,
It's gone.
Just the roof?
it's,
To roof repairs.
No,
Just
it's
the-
internal renovations also.
yes.
It's a lot of things they've
Mhm.
got going on there.
So there really has to be some discussion, and I'm in the process of trying to figure out, and I also called the state of how this project, the borough would have to do the capital ordinance, but then how does the debt get paid back? So that's where I'm at right now.
Do we get to review the plan?
Well, I did write a letter about a year ago, because what happened is they get, through our budget, there's taxes raised that they get an operating budget. Last year they had 1.5 million. The borough is not allowed to take any of their money for use. So, I already found this out through the state. So I cut a check and give them their balance. Now, with that being said, there's discussion right now going on about if they could give us some of that surplus money back. So I'm trying to find out the laws to help us with our funding of the capital improvement by them paying off some of the debt.
We're trying to better understand what the
The
rules
laws
are
are.
concerning their expenditures, what they are responsible for and what we are responsible
Mhm.
for. There seems to be some discussion on that because, in years past, the borough covered a lot of their expenses that perhaps weren't our responsibility. And there, as you could understand, there will be a reluctance from the library board to share in some of these responsibilities. So Susan and before she got ill, Lisette, are looking, trying, and I would assume maybe Bill, you'll be involved in this as well,
trying to understand what the state statutes allow us to do and what are, you know, we're required by state statute to give them a certain amount of money, which we do. There's no discussion, that's a minimum, and they've been able to function with that amount for quite some time. In fact, they've actually built up a surplus. So now the question becomes, you know, can we require them to spend some of that surplus on some of these repairs? And that's, you know, that's something that needs to be investigated.
Or the full plan, they have a full plan or just came up with this number off?
They have they have a sketch and some quotes that they received, they have some preliminary numbers.
Do we go out for bid on this?
No,
Well,
Oh,
if
yes,
they've, yes,
you
we
can,
do,
you
we
can
have
spend
to.
it.
now,
Yeah,
You
but
have to.
now,
now.
they're
No, but
supposed to.
if you do
She
it,
said- I thought she
Anything
went
that they
to it.
want to
No,
do,
can-
my
I
letter
thought you
informed
said-
them
I
that
thought
they
you
have
said we
to
went to it, sorry.
have our borough engineer look at any
Yeah,
type
I
of
mean,
improvements.
this is,
It's
this
our
is-
building.
This should
I
be
was
the
gonna say, it's our building.
Yeah.
this should be the purview of the borough engineer. We
Mhm.
wanna, and to make sure that we do what's required, what's necessary, and we spend our money wisely. And, you know, it's the engineer that should guide us in that direction.
There is okay, just one thing,
Mhm.
we give them, the library, the full amount that is recommended by law.
No,
Not-
that's
hang on a second,
no,
hang on a
no,
second.
no.
Let me
You use
finish.
the wrong terminology. It's not
No,
recommended.
that's why I wanna say,
It's-
there
it's
are other
required by-
municipalities,
Yeah, it's
there are
required.
other municipalities that do not give them
We'll put it behind
the full amount.
No, you have to.
That's not correct.
I already
Okay.
went to the
What
state and I
happened?
talked to the Susan
Yeah, like,
Jackson,
where
who's an attorney
you
for-
teach, do they
within
give
the
them the
state.
entire
What you're,
amount?
what's going on
Oh,
that,
they fell out of buckles, they're in trouble.
They fell out of buckle.
Yeah,
Yes, they
they're in
fell-
trouble,
it-
'cause
no,
they were
when
underfunded.
sometimes
they're
libraries
back in.
request more money than the
They're not
minimum and they don't get it.
No, but
But
there are
we-
towns that basically did not fully fund,
And they got in trouble.
and
now
they got
they're
in trouble, you
They're
know.
back in.
Yeah.
We don't wanna
back
get in
full
trouble.
funded.
No,
No, we
we
don't
don't.
wanna get in trouble,
Mm-mm.
definitely not.
No,
So right now, we're
That was
investigating the
your problem.
laws
Next, they're
to
gonna take
see
your library
what
card
we can
away.
ask the library to do.
just the library card, they're gonna take me.
That's what we're finding out right now.
I couldn't do my students, I
The
couldn't do my
roof
students
repairs,
research.
that extend over the
So they
youth
couldn't
center
get
and the
books from
McCandless
other
room?
libraries, and that's too
I don't know where the roof repairs are. I don't know, do you
Lauren,
know where the roof?
That's an excellent question, because in the past, and I'm sorry Bob stepped out, in the past, we've
Yeah.
had discussions on that, where what percentage belongs to the borough, what percentage belongs to the library.
See, that's the issue though, the whole
The
thing
McCandless room.
belongs, the
whole
building is
belongs
ours.
to the borough.
The whole building
Correct.
belongs to us.
No, but I'm
saying if
talking
they're
which
taking the
percentage
roof
of
off,
it
it's
is,
it's one and the same
is
piece.
used by the library.
Right, okay, that's a very good point. So the problem now is they are not allowed by law to take any capital improvement projects on. They have to come from the borough. That's it.
Okay.
So it's on us to do the improvements, but it's where the funding's gonna come from.
So if we have to replace part of our roof,
Mhm.
would it behoove us to look into some environmental options, like solar panels, or things like that, and?
That's up to the engineer to figure out.
No,
you
no,
know.
that's up to us.
Well, I don't know.
At
I'm
this
not
particular,
really
I
involved.
think
recommendation.
these discussions are a little
Yeah.
premature.
Yeah, plus I'm not an expert in
No, it's
solar
up to them.
panels or
This
anything.
But
structure-
I'm-
You know what I
this
mean? I
structure
don't-
can't take them
I'm just
away.
gonna leave you with the
Would
fact
would a
that,
new one?
A new
as
building.
you are
Building.
aware,
Okay.
there are a lot of issues with our building.
Mhm.
All right, and a lot of these issues go back to when the building was constructed and expanded. And the one story that I get, because it was before, well before my time, that is consistent, is there was too much politics in the job and not enough,
Professional
the
management.
professionals were not allowed to do their job. So I'm just giving you a forewarning that, you know, none of us are builders, none of us are experts. We can give them guidance and direction, but let the professionals do the job, because otherwise, future governing bodies are gonna look upon the jobs that are done during our period, and they're gonna feel the same way about it that we feel about the work that was done here 15 or 20 years ago. You know, that it just wasn't done right, and now we're paying the price. And when you get down to the bottom of this report, you're gonna see another
Mhm.
situation
That I added.
that's unfortunate.
So, should I move on to Fister's Pond?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
From the sublime.
Okay, so Fister's Pond, I have been trying to, and Dan, I don't know what's going on with this, but I've been trying to get a hold of Christopher Hanlon to send me an estimate so that we
Mr.
can
Hanlon's
proceed
from-
forward. Cause he said, I spoke to this gentleman and he said that he's already been out to the site. And really what I need is the estimate. I've called, I've sent an email. The one thing, I haven't gotten it yet, supposedly there is an estimate out there. Prior to today though, that he did say that he indicated that he would need an additional, way to get into the pond where they would need access, so a pathway would have to be created. And that would be outside of whatever the county can offer us.
When
It
you
was-
say, I'm sorry, uh, an access path, you mean for the actual work, not for
For
the estimate
trucks
itself?
to,
For the
well,
actual
there would
work.
be an additional
No, to get
funds
their
needed
equipment in
For
and
both,
out.
to
yeah.
get the
Okay,
equipment
for
in and
both
out,
will
yeah.
work.
To
That's
get
what
the
I said.
work over there and to get the stuff out.
Well,
Yeah.
there's two possibilities. One is, I know their intent is to, they've got a grant, I believe, to improve the path from the parking lot down towards the pond, to make it ADA accessible.
Mm.
So that's one
That's not
possi-
for trucks though, I don't think.
Well,
Is that
No,
for-
they need
Well,
access.
But if you're gonna need, get a truck there, it has to come in one way or the other. The other way is to come in from the golf course road.
That's what I thought.
But that, it's a short distance, but it's woods, and and I don't know if it's wetlands, and I don't know, it may turn out that the path from their original parking lot might be the way to go, but
So
Let's
the $1 million is gonna be now $1,000,003.
let's not spend a lot of time on this since we don't have the estimate.
Yeah, I'm having difficulty getting it, so.
Let's go into the next
We
item.
have
Try
to
Gerald.
think
Try Gerald again.
Try who?
Gerald. Ryan.
Oh, Gerald, okay. Then, Emacs, so there is an analysis that's with this, but that's not the analysis that's going to come in next week. The public auction will be at 11 a.m. December 10th. You'll have the opportunity to discuss it, and if you do not if you decide not to go with the numbers that are presented, then we just pull the resolution and don't adopt it.
Okay.
Can you give us what we have now in comparison to what they're proposing?
I don't have it with me. What we
Well,
have.
no,
But
I mean,
it
for
should
next-
be there.
Oh, yeah, the analysis will show what it
Okay.
will.
But what is important, you're gonna see what we have now, but that's not important.
Yeah,
Important is gonna be
it's
what's gonna
come
be
in on the
projected.
10th.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to see an improvement.
Yeah.
Whether
Okay.
that's realistic or not, I don't know.
So, Civic Plus, I got the agreement back this
Yay.
morning. It's fully executed, the timeline will be established, a kickoff will take place. They will assign 9 to 10 people to the project, and it'll take approximately 6 to 8 months to complete. Now, a couple of you have brought up that you wanna be involved in this. Usually what happens, I talk to them, usually the department heads, the staff, they present to the governing body the progress. So it's here that you have to decide what we're gonna do going forward. But if there is a 6 to 8 month timeline, whoever's gonna be working on this needs to be fully committed and available to the times that are set to meet. Because if we prolong this, it may affect this project from Civics
But
Plus's
may I
standpoint.
make a suggestion? You're gonna have a new governing body in January. In January, maybe have a representative of the company come and speak at one of your work sessions, and you guys can discuss after you hear what they have to say, how you wanna proceed, at what level of interest or contribution you want elected officials to take part. I mean, in most towns, I think the majority of the work is done by the department heads
And then present
and the
it.
vendor, but why don't you invite this company in January to tell you how they wanna proceed, and then you guys can decide what you wanna
It
do.
might be a webinar, not a webinar, over the laptops like we did before, because they're not in state, they're pretty far away.
So we're beyond that point already, so I know that Susan and I, we've been going back and forth. We, as a body here, elected 2 of us to be on this committee to go forward. We've already worked with Civic Plus.
Okay.
We've added in Mark, Vinu, myself, and Mark have already engaged and spoken with the people to get a sense. I don't wanna hold up the process by another, month or so. I think we're off and running. I think, from what I understand, every department head needs to weigh in on what their part looks like. And I don't see an issue in that. I really highly recommend that Omar be the point person as the clerk who's responsible for all the documents and information that flow through our borough. I'd like, if you're okay with that, I mean, I think Omar, who's technologically very savvy and who has a sense of what comes in terms of paper and information, really should be the person who is the front engagement with Civic Plus.
I just want you to know, they're gonna move quickly.
I agree.
So,
and
with
he
that,
can
there's
move
gonna be a
quickly.
timeline, and if whoever's gonna, whoever's gonna be involved on this has to be available, and that's what they're telling me.
Do
We're
they,
available.
No, I mean, you can't, there's a time frame that they're gonna say that this
Omar,
project.
are you willing and able to take on that?
I'm willing and able.
And
So-
he's shown very, a lot of confidence in the initial meetings and discussions.
Right.
Okay, good.
quick
Yes.
question, so is, in your conversations with Civic Plus, you said they were gonna have to sign a project manager?
They are gonna assign a team to
Okay.
us, and then the team is gonna expect us to be responsive as they move along.
So Have they, are they
That
gonna,
doesn't, that means we can't like
are they
dwell on
communicating
things
with
too
you
long.
right now, or directly with Omar? Or
They've
both
been
of you?
communicating with me, and, you know, that's how it's been going. Now, we were supposed to check the minutes to see if a committee was formed. Was a committee formed, because Lauren
Yes, I
thinks.
believe Lauren was correct in the three of them. And I think, Susan, if you're, either you or Omar is the point person with them, then anything that comes to you, you send out by email to the three members of the committee. And unless there's a major problem, a response should be forthcoming within 24 hours.
Right, and I don't think it's necessary for us to be at every meeting or, you know.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to
Right.
point out. You have to let us know what your expectations are from us as well, so that I know, you know, and Omar knows when you want to be there, when you don't want to be there. So we can keep you informed, and then you can let us know, okay, I want to attend this meeting, or I, you know, just like we did when you spoke to them, we
Yeah, that
set
was
up
great.
the time.
That was great.
Yeah,
But they're gonna provide us with basically a timeline, a project timeline in terms of we know what stages.
yes, the scope
Right.
of work
So that
will be there.
We know that if we have to make a decision, there's a particular time
Where
it has
we
to be
can-
made by.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right,
No
okay.
step.
All right,
Okay.
personnel manual.
Okay, so then
Then
we're
you
done.
as CFO, I want you to be able to refer to Omar and say, Omar, this is on you, and I'm gonna go do my CFO stuff.
I'm the contact person, because I signed the contract
Right,
and
but
everything.
now,
And Omar and I will probably work, you'll be the one who gets all the documentation stuff, but I'll have to be involved with Omar to keep this going with them. So that's not all on you either.
Okay.
We'll keep it going,
Susan,
yes.
personnel manual.
Okay, so the personnel manual. Lizette and I had originally went with Balance Point, and we found that it was more of a boilerplate document that we were getting from them, so we talked to them and we said, you know what, we're looking for a little bit more to our personnel manual. We want, forms in there, like complaint forms, we want the whistleblower form in there, we want all of these things in there that they were not really keeping a full package for us. So, we decided, and I also, Lauren had brought this up as well, that we should possibly consider coordinating with another vendor, an outside consultant, to complete the manual. And I believe that that is a very good suggestion, because I am not an expert in human resources. There are many laws, although I can research them, I don't have time to research them. There are many laws that I've been coming about with family leave, with sick time, that are new laws, that there are individuals that are experts on the subject matter that would better serve the borough in completing our personnel manual.
Jeff?
Susan, I find it hard to believe, doesn't the League of Municipalities have something that they can offer? I mean, how many municipalities in the state of New Jersey all basically making a similar or exactly same manual? There's gotta be.
Well, we're gonna look at, I'm gonna I can ask Lynn to call Jeff to see what they have. But when I say an outside vendor consultant, I'm also gonna I will consult with Jeff to see what they have. But we definitely, Lizette and I should not be doing this
No,
manual.
you shouldn't be doing it.
Because
But
I
I'm
went
saying
through
that
it,
there's gotta
and I
be-
think that there's
I
too many.
think Jeff is bringing up a good point.
There's gotta be about 1,000 of these manuals in the state of New Jersey.
Some of them are very
that are-
poorly written.
Not for the
The-
borough, though.
but
Some
I mean,
of
I
which
looked at
are-
ours, I
Some of
looked
which
at
are
ours,
well-written.
and but what I'm saying is, there's a lot to be done in this manual. Like, I've been going through it page by page, and yes, I could consult with some of my colleagues to see what they think of their own personal manuals and who did it. I have talked to a couple of them. One of them did say to reach out to Jeff. So that's.
And the league doesn't have?
I don't know if the league has it. I mean,
I
I
think
could
it's
reach
worth a
out to
phone
them.
call.
Yeah.
They're up on all of the law.
I could make a
right?
note
They
for
gotta be
them
current.
too.
All right, Lauren?
It's very,
So I can't say enough how important I think it is to finish and complete this personnel
Oh,
manual.
yeah.
The amount of HR issues that have come up that
Oh.
are vague or that the manual's not updated for is very detrimental to our borough.
Mm.
Not only that, while I understand that generically the correct and updated laws will be in a JIF manual, it's not as nuanced and as geared towards our borough and our workplace and our maybe structure as an individual who would design it for us would be. I've done these for businesses. I think there are nuances that might be beneficial for us to have someone look at it and say, how does Tenafly structure its departments? How does it do its workforce? How is the interplay between departments, happening? What are the HR issues you're seeing? And then write the manual based on our
But if it gets
borough.
too nuanced, and you know this as a lawyer, having done this for
Yeah.
both
Yes,
HR and law, if it gets too nuanced, then you open up cans of worms
Yeah.
of course,
that aren't there. So you want something that's basically
yes.
out there that has been either tested in courts, been through the mill, rather
Yeah.
than creating little
Right.
fissures in there that people will crack wide open.
And then.
I'm
I'm
And
sure
that was
Gloucester,
Of course.
Crestkill,
And
everybody
I'm not-
has a manual like that. It's
Yes.
Right.
nothing brain damaging here.
Yes, but,
Yeah.
so I just
And
want
we're
to
not
say,
that distinct from the
Yeah.
other however many hundreds
I
of
agree.
municipal forms of government like
Maybe I
this.
could talk to Harold and Cresco.
Yeah,
Right.
they
Yeah.
should have a
I'll
manual.
find
that-
out
I
who
don't
wrote
want this
their
to be a
manual
prolonged
and-
process.
We
no,
can
I
even-
want to get it
I can-
done, and
Right.
that's my
And-
other point is I want to actually get this to completion
Yeah.
as soon as possible. So, if the JIF is going to take 6 months, then maybe that's not
But
the
it's
option.
nuanced and take
Alright.
longer. I
Let's
can
move on.
pretty much assure that.
Okay,
Well, I'll check
Susan,
with the
that's in
league and
your
Jeff, and
hands,
I
but-
Yeah, we
will,
can-
check it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Okay.
JIF.
Thorough
I just
infrastructure.
want-
Okay, now,
Yes.
so, we seem to have a problem with leaks in the building. So today I added this to it with, the borough infrastructure. There was a leak that went into that came out of the hallway, affected the conference room, affected Lizette's office. That has been fixed and cleaned and done. Now, yesterday, we came in and the tax office had a leak, and the pipe burst, it leaked into the vault. They're in the process, the pipe has been fixed, but they're in the process of, Servpro cleaning up the office over there, and my office is. Everything was rusty, there was water all over the place, it was pretty bad. So going forward, I think that we have to discuss the building in general, because maybe an inspection needs to be done of all the piping in this barrel.
What's causing, are they bursting from freezing? What's causing, are the pipes just failing?
I don't know.
What's going on?
They were the bubblers. The
They were what?
Bleeders. They were the original bleeders that were put in the system. They let air out, and it ruptured.
Oh, so it's not the pipe.
Bob, what was the condition of the pipe that ruptured? Was it,
The pipe itself didn't rupture. It was the air release valve that ruptured, not the pipe.
There's
So is this a
multiple
problem
locations.
We
in,
had 2 locations.
Okay.
is it, Bob, is this a problem for the rest of the building possibly?
No, we haven't had any issues.
But why do we have two all of a sudden?
Two in 2 weeks.
Those
So
rats,
do we need to inspect these
Yeah.
pipes so it doesn't happen again?
the bleeders,
Yes,
Squirrels.
yes,
Squirrels are
okay,
eating them.
so that's
Who let those
what we need
rats
to
out?
do.
That's the
How do we
problem.
get done?
Okay.
I saw at least one flood.
Oh, and then, I have been reviewing the Delta dental policy. It spoke about this before. And, I had a conference call on Thursday, with someone from Eifert French and Delta Dental.
But why do we have this issue? I mean, what's the fact, we had this Delta for such a long time. What's the issue?
We don't have them. We have Horizon,
We're
and
trying to
the
get-
borough
Yeah,
employees have been complaining for
Yeah,
years about the
so
Horizon.
what's the issue that we cannot change?
Well,
And,
the
Well, I
employees
need
are
to-
unhappy, I guess.
They're very
So
unhappy.
the question is,
and they I'm happy with,
I'm looking
what they're
at-
looking is comparing the two to see which one would be
Comparing
better.
the two,
Not
because
only for
there's
the employees, but
different
for us.
levels of Delta Dental. So I'm trying to decipher the different plans. There's premium, there's PPO, there's basic, and make
Right.
sure that we pick the best plan for, that's
See-
affordable to the borough.
let me,
And with their
do
chapter
we have any,
78.
do we have somebody that knows about this insurance and stuff? Because what's the most embarrassing is that we have put it in our contract negotiations. And if we don't know now about what the hell, which one is better or so, and put it in the contract.
Well, we're gonna find out Thursday. Thursday, we're gonna finish up the review.
Okay, well,
All right, let's go.
Well, I mean, we have to look at it in detail.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, and that's it.
Correspondence, the first item is a letter from the New Jersey DOC commending us on keeping our jail in good shape, so
we got the
I
best.
haven't had any
case.
complaints from prisoners lately. The next is a email from Gloria Lane, and I know that Vanu and Max, along with myself, were witness to serious discussions on this issue. This is a decision made by the senior center that we really don't have any say about, but I think when that decision was made, before they made it, they analyzed it very strongly, seriously, and Max and Vanu, do you have anything to say about it? I
Yeah.
thought what they did was the right thing.
No, the senior center, it's a self-managed and stuff like that. So they made the decision based on the budget they have and based on the amount of money they need.
Also, but one of the factors was that we, the governing body, insisted that they have
Be
be
self-sufficient.
self-sufficient.
Yeah,
And that's what they're doing, and,
The question we have here is a question, and I think that we need to understand to answer, the question is, the decision was made. Do we have the right, and that was something that we said we're gonna ask Bill, do we have the right to create 2 layers of members, the Tenafly members, that we can say we're gonna subsidize by $10 a year instead of $25. You're just gonna pay $15 because we already pay for all the taxes. You already paid through your taxes for this one. Versus the out-of-towners who would pay, let's say, the full $25. So at least we can give them the answer is, yes, you could even do it if you want it, or no, you cannot do it, so you have to keep it the same. And they make the decisions, but they should know if they can
but
do it or not.
they made that
I thought they
decision based
investigated that.
on the judgment of our attorneys in the past that you can't have a 2-tier system.
Well, but
Didn't
let's,
they-
let
Let
Bill answer the
Bill
question.
answer.
On a purely municipal funded
Location.
activity or right,
Yeah.
you can give discounts to residents. But
Okay,
once you start accepting funds from county or Green
Federal.
Acres or right through grants, you have to, you can't do that.
so
Like a
the
general
fact that we
available.
accepted grants for the parking lot we got grants for the standalone, the stand-up power, would basically prohibit us from giving a preferential treatment to our,
But before,
that what you're
before
saying?
that-
To residents.
But before that, when we built the senior center, we took grants, and
Right.
Yeah.
that's really
That's the
and keep in mind,
initial thing.
I spoke with Michelle today. They've already had 100 people pay their dues, whatever you want to call it. There hasn't been, the only person that's complained so far is Gloria.
but we need to answer the question.
No, the question has been answered.
Yeah, so
Well,
the,
right, if you've accepted funds from, other than purely funded through resident tax dollars,
yeah,
then you can't do that.
okay.
Are we allowed to, kind of what Max was asking, subsidize our residents? I mean, saying that membership is $25 across the board for everyone, but hey, we're gonna give these our residents
We
a
can't
$10
do, we
discount.
can't do directly, you can't do indirectly.
Okay.
And
There's that
I
answer.
wanna add something,
So
we
that's the
did
answer.
take money out
Well,
of
you
their
got the voice of
operating
this
budget
resolution.
last year. Well, we
Okay.
We're done.
to compensate for this.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
done.
Because that question came up.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, any questions on these resolutions?
I saw that you have corrected the truck resolution.
Oh. I had a question on the
Yeah.
schedule, but after you, go ahead.
You have corrected
I
it,
certified the funds.
We've
and
only
you
got-
changed the number, you
Yeah.
changed it back to the correct one.
We've only got one more meeting this year.
Good.
Only 2 chances to get through the resolutions without a question.
No,
Not gonna happen.
not gonna happen, we are here to make sure
So,
that things
just
are
make
right.
note of that, yes.
Yeah, okay,
Well, don't you want us to read these?
I want you to read them, yes.
Yeah.
Very
Wait,
important.
which one's the schedule?
the schedule is, N,
And now I can't find it.
and it's 12 o'clock on the 4th, followed by the reorganization at 1 o'clock.
No,
Correct.
but that's, where was the full schedule? In the full schedule one.
The full schedule is not here. The full schedule was submitted in advance in the previous resolutions.
Yeah,
The
we
full
had
schedule,
that
they had
on
one
the-
on Passover.
Right.
Yeah, that's a different one, it was
Okay.
submitted, so,
We need to change that,
yeah,
but that's, okay, that's not here.
no, it's not here.
So for
Okay.
the, question,
Yes.
for the reorg meeting, can we go right from one to the other without a break in between?
Well,
You have to
tradition
change
normally,
it.
tradition normally is you have a little cheese and crackers out there
So I was thinking that we would do that, but do that at the end, so,
at the end of what?
in other words, after the meeting, get through the meetings, and then have our noshes and
Well,
stuff immediately
what-
thereafter.
What normally happens is there's people that come to the recess meeting that don't stay for the reorg meeting. And that's
Okay.
basically a mingling of the two groups, and there are
And
people
we're gonna
that,
go after
people
that.
Okay,
with
that
the-
that's
come for the reorg meeting that don't wanna come for the recess meetings.
Right,
Or
right.
people that don't really come for the noshing, but you keep them there because they want to go to the second meeting.
All right, that's fine.
To the, well, and we can make it short and very, so
Good
we
luck
don't
to
have,
you, yes.
okay.
Okay, for the good of the order,
All right, so we start with a $5 million bond for roads. We were in Atlantic City where our auditor was over there. And as you very well know, Lauren was talking about how do we accelerate repairing the roads, because putting $1 million, we're never gonna catch up with that. But we can do that in a more accelerated fashion if we can do a large bond for the roads, and is that feasible? So Susan, I, and the auditor had a little bit of conversation over there, and the auditor said, yeah, it's absolutely feasible to do that, and then you plan the future bonds, basically to have them less. Right now, instead of putting $1 million for the roads, you put 250 for the maintenance of the roads, rather than the full $1 million so they get. It will require a little bit of an analysis of the amount of money that are necessary for the budget in 2020. We'll look at the entire number of bonds that are coming, but they said that it is feasible, and that will create a big jolt in cleaning up the problems we have with the roads. So-
Max, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I don't question the need or the positiveness of bonding for $5 million next year if you want to get a jump start on roads. But
Yeah.
we had the survey done. The number that was required was more like 30 million.
Okay.
I'm not suggesting we bond for 30 million, but what I'm hearing you say that disturbs me is, yeah, we'll do 5 million this year, and next year we'll cut back.
So let me answer that.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
what we call the so-called survey for $36 million was a survey that basically every single road, even it was required to have like a surface soap, was calculated into a complete mill and a pave at the highest possible cost, including sidewalks, including which would never gonna be. That is absolutely the maximum cost. When we looked at the actual number of streets that we can do, Last year, for example, for about $600,000, we did about 8 roads. For $1 million, we can do 10 roads. With $5 million, we can do 50 roads, which would be a huge jump, probably covering 80% of the roads that we need to do that are really in need of mill and pave, and not the ones that just need cracks and stuff like that, which were still calculated as if they were
Do you,
to
do you remember, they broke the roads down to
very well,
categories.
red, orange.
How much was just the reds?
I don't remember. No,
I'm sorry?
About 40 million.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
About $40 million.
40 million.
yeah, but that's again, it were calculated at the maximum cost, and there was not something that basically we will be paying when we go through specific co-op and so. If we can get, if this year we did 8 roads for 600,000, 700,000, we will be able to do 30, 40, 50 roads for that, and we need to look at that.
Oh.
If we don't look at that, then we're never gonna do anything that it helps the town.
Once again, I'm not suggesting that that's not a bad idea. What I'm concerned about is your intent at this point, in order to sell this, you're saying we're gonna cut back in future years.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I'm
But that's-
not sure where you're gonna end up in a couple of years. Mark?
So, a couple of things. First off, if we spend 5 million next year,
Yeah.
that means in 15 years, that mayor and council are gonna have to do the same thing, because all those roads are gonna fail at the same time.
Not if we continue to maintain them. We
Right,
continue
but-
to maintain them, no.
So,
Correct.
Maintain them as well as you want those.
Well, there's a
failures.
there's
useful
a-
life, there's a
There's
useful
a,
life.
let me finish what I'm
Yeah.
saying here. That's a key thing is what you just said. We have to have a maintenance program that is
Exactly.
able to keep up with these before we go ahead and spend 5 million out of nowhere. And the idea that then the next year we're gonna spend close to 0,
Nobody said 0.
well, whatever you said, a
Go
number
back to
less, so.
1.2.
No,
he
you
said
get to, back to
0.25.
500, 500,000.
So
Just
we're
went
gonna
from
cut the
250
budget in
to 500.
half, I mean, that's pretty inconsistent. If anything, we should be, if we decide to spend more money, it should be, 1 million, 1.2, 1.7, 1.9, as we perfect the maintenance program to have a consistent budget number, because just the down payment on this thing alone is gonna hit $250,000 onto our operating
Yeah.
budget before we've even,
Right, well, I
before
talked to
we've
the
even
auditor
started.
in more detail about this. What you have to do is take the overall plan, take
Yeah.
all your red roads,
Exactly.
figure out the time frame, but you don't really should go from 5 million to 250. You have to do a few million, and maintenance as well on the roads that are not red.
Yeah.
And then you keep doing it and rotating
But
over a
unless,
certain period of time.
if we continue to,
That's
Kira,
what the
it's my,
auditors
this is my,
suggested.
First of all,
yeah.
you haven't raised your hand once tonight.
No, but this is my point.
I
in the
understand that,
conversation.
but you know what? A budget process isn't throwing a dart at a
No.
dartboard to come up with a number.
No.
Okay, I think what your idea, your concept is admirable. We need to spend more money on the roads. But I think before we say we're gonna spend $5 million, we need to sit down with the engineer and decide what roads we're gonna do next year and what it will cost. And then analyze where that's gonna leave us at the end of the year. Because regardless of how many roads you can do for $5 million, next year there's gonna be a whole slew of more roads that need to be done, and you're immediately thinking, first you said we'll only spend 250, then you said we'll spend 500.
Yeah.
Well, you need a spending plan and a road plan.
So
Right.
this is exactly the
Max,
point of
Max,
this
The
conversation.
one thing, because I like spend,
Yeah.
I'm for
Yeah,
spending
yeah.
fix. I think we have to change one thing in our thinking, and that is rather than number of roads, because all roads are different lengths and
Yeah.
cost
Mhm.
different amounts. I think we need to talk in
Miles.
terms of miles
Yeah.
of roads. How many miles we want to do in a given year? How
Yes.
many miles are in the red? Not how many roads. How many miles are in there? Break it down that way.
Yeah.
And then figure out which roads match those miles. But miles are a much better measure of this.
There is no question about that.
And so
here's the
that's what we
question.
need to look towards is how many miles we need to maintain,
Yeah.
how many miles we need to literally
So-
throw out and
I know, you
So
know-
the reason for
Hey.
this one, Jeff, was specifically to start that process.
All right, so we're getting the discussion
Yeah.
going.
to get to the process where say, let's do and understand how many roads, how many miles we can do. What's gonna be then the number of miles that we're gonna have to mill and pave after that? How many miles, number of miles we have to just resurface after that? Look at the overall number of bonds that we have to start looking at that as a holistic process. And unless we start to do that, you're not gonna be able to do that at the budget time, because on the budget time, you're gonna have to work on every detail. You have to start now to build up that process whereby you're figuring out if we do so much money, so many
Well,
miles,
you know,
are we gonna catch up or not?
I like the word holistic, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay, however,
it's HOLIS.
$5 million,
Yeah.
it's a great round number. But the reality of it is, how are you going to do this budget next year? Are you gonna back into a budget starting with $5 million? Because we've already talked about a lot of capital expenditures.
6.3 without
Okay,
that.
without that.
So we're up to
Okay.
11.3?
Yeah,
So-
that's what
so
we're gonna be up
the
to.
The question becomes, you may get to a point where $5 million is just totally unrealistic, because at the same time, you wanna have a low tax increase. So, you know, I think there's a two-pronged attack here. You gotta sit down with the engineer, DPW, and figure out how you wanna start this road project, and get a sense of what it's gonna cost. But it's silly to say $5 million now,
Yeah.
because you don't know if you're gonna be able to fit that into your
$5
budget.
million was a number to start this conversation.
Right.
We're gonna have to start this conversation. How do we catch up with the roads? And if it's $3 million, 2.5 or so, unless we start now the conversation, we look at the number of miles, we look at the cost, we look what bonds are coming, what are the, we will never, it's gonna be all these I'll give it to you in a second. At the end of the budget is gonna be how much more we have, or we can only put it, and then we're never gonna go into a
Dan, did you have your hand up? No. Okay, Lauren and then Mark.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Max, because this is the number one thing I hear from residents, is that the state of our community, the appearance of our community is mostly the state of our roads right now. They are in shambles, they weren't properly maintained with the maintenance program over the last how many number of years, and we are at a point where we don't have the money to spend. And we are faced with raising taxes to fix up our infrastructure, or getting in a worse and worse shape and having our residents literally not come here and stay here because the town is falling apart. So there can't be a higher priority right now in our budget than fixing the infrastructure. And Max, thank you for putting this back on the agenda. While the number might be ambiguous and we can work it out,
Exactly.
Max is 100% right. We need a big push now to get a significant number of roads finished and milled and paved and maintained. Plus, we need to get the county involved to do the county roads, which are the longest roads in our town and go through a significant portion of our commuters through the town. So between those two things, a big push up front, and we could figure out the future maintenance and the future repairs.
Exactly.
And they can go back to the $1 million goal that we've been trying to do for the past 2 or 3 years. But clearly, getting 8 or 9 roads done a year is not gonna make a dent in the significant amount of work we have to do, and that will make the biggest difference to our residents. This is the number one complaint they have in town.
Mark?
So I happen to agree with Jeff in terms of how we measure the roads, in terms of miles and
Good
feet,
idea.
inches, whatever it is. So we have a better understanding against how many miles of roads we actually have here in town. I think a maintenance program for the long term is absolutely essential, because you have to, everyone has to remember that this road issue is never going to end.
Of course.
200 years
Yeah.
from now, it's gonna be the same conversation
Right.
going on.
You can't ignore it, though.
So, but my point is, I agree, we have to up the ante on the road program, so long as we have a very serious maintenance program. And we can't just be having erratic different numbers every year. It's gotta be a consistent process, right, that returns a certain number of improved miles for us every year in the roads.
If we can
So we-
afford that consistency, though, but maybe
But if we can't afford the consistent one, we can't afford these one-shot deals. It has to be done consistently.
No, it's right. It has to
Has to be
be,
done
we have to
consistently.
start with something
Hold
and
on.
then maintain it.
Lino had his hand up.
I agree with everything that, is said, that we do need to, have a robust road improvement program, front loaded. But I'm wondering how much we can get through the Transportation Trust Fund, which is something that, I mean, we're all paying
Good
into
question.
it.
Good
Yes.
And we should try and lobby for some of that, because I think
Well,
it's something.
I would guess
They apply for
that a company like Mazer should have some,
But we've
the
never
ability-
heard of
well,
anything.
that's one of the things when you get together with the grant
We get it
writer,
every year.
that's one of the things, that should be the highest priority, since we're talking about this being our highest priority. Dan?
We get the transportation fund every year for some, last year was Jefferson.
Jefferson,
Well,
Yeah.
and
well, we
would-
got
would-
Piermont
Two years
Road,
ago. Piermont was the last one.
and
There was
Woodland.
330,000.
we have Woodland and Hudson this year.
Yeah,
Right.
so so
But-
the idea is, this conversation has to be started now. We have to look at the larger amount to be able to catch up, and then to a maintenance program. Unless you basically start doing it now, we're not gonna catch up. And that was the whole point of this, to start, focus on this one. It doesn't have to be 5 million,
Okay.
it has to be, and the auditors are ready to work with us and look at, with the engineer and
No,
everything.
this is
So-
part of the budget process.
No, that's what I'm saying. This has to be before the budget process, because at the budget process, you don't have any more a chance to build the whole thing. It's too late in the
Well,
process.
what-
But it has
we-
to be part of the budget.
What we've done in the past is almost back into the number for roads. We need to not do it, we would not treat it like the last thing. This
Yeah,
is the
it's-
first thing.
Yeah.
And then
Because
we'll,
that's what we're trying to do.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right, okay.
Okay.
And on the same time, we need to refinance some of our bonds. The interest is as low as we ever can have. We have some bonds that are 3-4% or so. Right now, we are looking at around 2%. We should go back to the bond council and see which of those existing bonds we can refinance, not at the full amount of 2, 3, 4 years, but whatever is left, because we can have savings on the amount of money we pay on interest, because the interests now are much lower than they were 3, 4, 5 years ago.
So a lot of our bonds, the last bond we did was a 10-year bond, but a lot of our bonds are dropping off in a year.
Yeah.
So it may not pay to refinance only because they're dropping off, and it costs like up
But
to
not all of them.
$40,000 to go out to bond.
Yeah.
So we have to compare the cost to go out
Exactly.
to bond to the savings.
So we can talk to the bond
The
council.
right, well, the auditor would talk to us
Auditor,
about that.
exactly. Look at the amount of, look at the interest we pay, see how many years, see how much it's gonna cost
We
us
have
to
a debt
refinance.
schedule, yeah.
Exactly, and rebuild the schedule to basically save money on this one. It's so important for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Next is hiring a
Hiring
grant
a
writer,
grant
which I
writer,
think we
yes.
talked about earlier.
No, we didn't. We didn't even start it. That was what we had, was a tentative to basically not have a conversation about what we really need for a grant fund. When we discussed with the Bergenfield BA over there, they told me that they hired a grant writer, which for us would be at no cost, because we will be replacing the cost of what we have right now for grant writers. So
What are
will be
we
an
spending on that?
sorry?
Do we know what we're spending?
I don't know if we.
I think it's like 3,800 when they go out and do a
What's
grant.
Yeah.
Sometimes 3,800.
3,800.
The average is 3,000.
Yeah,
They're
3,000.
flat
Okay,
fees.
so here,
There's a flat fee and they don't take when we get awarded a grant.
That is correct.
no,
We-
yeah,
it's a flat
here they
fee,
were
that's what
talking
we get
about
all the money.
$3,000 a month
No.
for a
No,
grant.
no,
No,
no.
not
No,
a
no,
lot.
no.
Per grant.
I
In
understand.
this case.
In this case, he was talking about $3,000 a grant for a grant writer, and apply for every single grant under the sky. And then when they got basically the grants, millions and millions of dollars, they came back and said, here is your budget, the grants that you can use. Everything, we apply for everything, from $1,000 for historical society to $2,000 to improve a church, to $2 million together. So they got,
This is Bergenfield, right?
yes, millions and millions of dollars, and then they came back to the government body and said, you have all this one, now you can build your budget based on knowing what finances you have, basically knowing what you can use, and now you can build your budget in an intelligent way where you have actually the knowledge of what is available for you, so you can switch and create a budget that basically matches minimum amount of expenses from the town. We don't have that stuff like that, and we don't have. It would be at no cost for the borough, because we pay for this grant right now. Will be basically taken from one, put over there, and will serve the town very well, because every single possible grant will be available to the town. And not only that, they have a projection in Burrfield, and things we don't know, for things that they can use over 3 to 5 years or so. So they know every year what will come available. And so they said they have never had so much money to build the soccer fields that they build, everything from rebuilding historical houses and so. And they said they used to have the same thing like we had. They moved out of it, and they never had so much grants coming their way. Those are professional grant writers. They're not just looking at the grants that are used for their own purposes. They are using the grants that are used for everybody else. They even mentioned something that I didn't even understand, but from basically open space and everything else, it's so beneficial. So when you are looking to have these new RFPs and everything done, this should be a priority, because that is the source of revenue for the town, much more than anything else besides the existing taxes or so. So it's very important to look at that.
So can I say something?
Yes.
So I did an analysis on grant writers when I was in Park Ridge. So there are different
Yeah.
ways that you pay a grant writer. One is you pay when they go out for a grant. One is you pay monthly.
Monthly.
And another is you pay when they get you a grant.
Yeah.
They get a percentage of the grant.
That's supposed to be illegal.
Well,
Okay.
there are some companies that
Yeah.
do that.
But let her finish what she wants to say.
So anyway, I don't know, the firm that was hired in Park Ridge though was the one that you pay when you get the grant. The thing with paying monthly though, I just wanna add, it depends on the town. Like when I was in Belleville, they had over 200 grants. So somebody who's been getting paid there monthly, you're getting your money's worth, because you're gonna have a lot of grants that you're eligible for.
That's what Burrfield has told us too.
Right, so but paying, but
Yeah.
when you pay monthly, I don't believe this town is eligible for a lot of grants. So you have to be very careful about how you're gonna structure this grant writing concept.
So I looked at this one because I didn't want
Because
to.
Bergenfield is different
I
than
look
here,
at
they
it,
probably
the
get
grants, for example, for
Yeah.
the $12,000 for the senior center cost us $3,800 as a writing the grant. The grants that we did, the parking lot was also, so we're paying much more in grants
percentage.
today than if we were paying the
Paying-
3,000 for whatever grants there are available now. The grants for the transportation were something in the almost $20,000 or so. So there is so much more that we can get for the same money, and we should not. We should really look at that, because that's the most important. It's a source of revenue that right now we lack. Okay.
So you'd have to win 12 more grants.
Yes.
More than 12 grants a year.
Exactly.
How many grants do we do now a year?
Oh, I don't know how many grants we,
You do the transportation
Transportation.
trust fund, you do the open space, you do CDBG, you do, whatever project, you do historic. It's whatever projects you're
How
funding,
much-
because
come up,
you,
that they're.
For example, last year,
I
how
don't
much
know
did
what
we
the-
get in dollar amount?
for Piermont
So
Road, you got
it's
200
very
and some
important.
odd
Okay.
thousand.
Minus Piermont.
So then you'd have to.
Yeah.
go
Every
out
year
and
you're-
look to
Yeah,
see.
it's
Yeah.
basically,
Prices
you go
vary,
out,
too.
you go out for an RFP, you talk, and the whole idea is,
So we're getting over 200 for Woodland and Hudson Avenue, correct?
here, it's not important to go on an RFP to get the cheapest one. Go on an RFQ and talk to the other communities to find out of the people responding, which are really good ones, it's a RFQ, you don't have the obligation to take the
But in
cheapest
any
quote.
case, if we were to if we commit ourselves to $3,000 a month for a grant writer, that's a budget item, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd have to
We
budget
have a
36.
No, no, you
budget
take it out of the engineering cost.
No, it's a budget item. If
Yeah.
you contract for $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
it's
but
a-
you take
it's-
it out
it's
of
an
the
oper-
budget for the engineering.
It's an
Well,
oper-
budget
Right
item.
now, we're
well,
paying.
Yeah, we're paying it
for-
through it anyhow.
Okay.
It's not free.
I understand
Yeah,
what you're saying.
okay.
Let's move on.
All right.
Quotes for purchases.
Quote for purchasing, okay, here is something that we wanna talk together. You wanna start with the, because,
Well, there's different thresholds for purchasing, and basically our two audit findings last year were based on purchasing. You know, the auditors are really digging deep into finance because since Edmonds, we're doing great. So now they're looking at purchasing. So we found that sometimes when we're paying some of these invoices, that the backup, the quote information just isn't there. So we started this week, I asked all of the departments to put a second and third quote in to Edmonds. There's functionality in the program to do this. Any items that are over $6,000 will need a second and third quote. Eventually, we'll probably go to a paperless environment where the quotes can be scanned in. The county does that. I did speak to, I believe, Gerald, and Gerald informed me that when I do go to that venue type of scenario, that I'm gonna have to fill out like a 21-page application. It has to be approved by the state to go paperless. But you need this documentation on file. It's extremely important. And the auditors pull many of our purchase orders and look for the backup, and it needs to be complete.
so let me take it from here. It's basically what happened when as you know, I audit almost every single expense we have over here. And we found some expenses that are over 65, I found expenses that were over $6,500, which I,
Yeah.
$6,500.
Well,
Yeah, 6,000,
yeah,
okay.
that's the
Which I
threshold.
asked for backup, because by law, those expenses over $6,000 will have to have multiple quotes in order not to be given to cousin Vinny. And we did not have these multiple quotes that for expenses over $6,000. For expenses under $6,000, well, you do not have to have them in writing or what.
You could have a verbal, and
But you
also
can
no
have
quote is considered a
Yes.
quote.
And or somebody is saying, I cannot do this one. But basically, you have to go to multiple vendors that you can get a final results. So we believe that with that type of access,
we?
Susan
Well,
and
for the
I,
6,000 and over,
Yeah.
they have to come up with a second and
Yeah.
third quote. But for under 6,000, we're not requiring that because you don't need to, but they should still look for competitive quotes on their own, not just say, oh, I'm gonna be complacent, I'm gonna go with this vendor,
Yeah.
I'm gonna constantly go with this vendor. They should always be looking for the best
how many
price.
of these quotes you have a year, you just told me?
Oh, we have hundreds. I don't, you
Yeah,
know.
and we figured out that basically if you get a $50 savings, will pay enough for the actual manpower that Susan will need in order to
I need an assistant
manage
purchasing
and
agent,
system
yeah.
purchases, stuff like
You
that.
really wanna put another employee on?
Well,
Well,
Susan has a
part-time,
plan.
have to
but
replace
I
the
have a
deputy
way
auditor
to.
No,
We have
you
a
know.
way to, there's other things I
Susan
can
has a way
do
of basically
paying for this person.
paying for this with
Without no additional expense.
with no
to the
idea.
borough.
So
One,
what,
there'll be a savings here too. There's, amounts, which I don't wanna go into, that should be charged out of my department. So that would also pay for the purchasing assistant.
so
What do you
Reallocating.
mean charged out of your department? You mean just charged to another
Services that we
department?
provide.
to other
Other departments.
no
Other-
departments, other
other-
non-Tenafly borough entities, which we should have
Which we
charged.
should have been doing all along.
And so the revenue should come back to the borough. Okay, so we're not talking about charging the legal or charging the.
Right.
Almost like
so
shared
we,
services.
but outside the, so basically Susan has a way to pay for this. And also without the additional savings in the purchases should be sufficient to cover. And not only that, would institute a discipline in everybody in the borough to know that they have to basically go and understand if there's something better for the borough, not just be lackadaisical and say, oh yeah, I've done business with these people for a long time. They're good guys.
Well, we've been looking at every single invoice, and, I mean, Max also looks at every single invoice, but we've been looking at the overtime being charged. You know, if the calculations are correct, we've been pulling back to contracts. We've really been saving money to the borough. We've also, when somebody raised our rates, we've called them up and said, you know,
Yeah.
why are you raising our rates?
Exactly.
You don't need to raise our rates, and we sometimes are successful in getting the rate lowered back down for labor. So,
So,
Let me get a question, so for bills that come in over $6,000, you're supposed to have a written quote from the vendor?
three
you're supposed to
Okay.
have 2 additional quotes.
quotes.
Three
To go
quotes
shop.
altogether. 1, 2 you're using, and then 2 other quotes.
Yeah.
So, okay, so where is the problem happening? In other words, are we not getting the quotes?
Yes.
Are the vendors not providing it to us, and we're ordering the work? In other words, where's
Well,
the
actually,
breakdown?
I'm not gonna say that the departments are, I think they're doing a good job, but we
Right.
could do a better job,
Documentation.
okay?
They
So
don't
the
have it.
documentation isn't always in place, but they're doing, I'd say this year, I think that our borough, as far as, the budget, I think they did a phenomenal job this year.
Yeah.
Cause I know because of the budget transfers, everybody,
Yeah.
the budget transfers are low. I don't know what's gonna happen this month yet, but up until this point, everybody
Alright,
was
so-
pretty,
so-
on target for the budget, but we could do a better job.
So
We
you're
can-
prepared to implement some improvements in this area, Susan?
Well, I'm going to, yes, I've already
Okay.
started.
Good.
And
Next
that's
i-
where,
Next item is, you folks have, events in the Davis Johnson
Yeah.
Garden Room anyway. Why is this on the agenda?
okay, because I have to sit down over here. I'm leaving the base. What I would like to
What's the
ask.
difference if you're speaking? You might as well sit there.
Yeah, okay, so I would like the council, the resolutions for the Davis Johnson Park says that you can use it, but the council has approved if we have to have liquor. The Tenafly Democratic Committee is trying to have a celebration party at the Davis Johnson's room, and I'm asking the council to approve that, to
Bill,
have,
can we do that?
yeah, that's the resolution. I talked to
Well,
this.
you're talking about just having a private function
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Can you
The fact
serve
that-
liquor?
Having a private function, but
Yeah.
bringing in your own
It's
alcohol.
it's in our resolution. I have the
Well, I
copy.
don't know, but don't we have something that says, no
Yeah,
alcohol?
doesn't that
No.
create a liability for the borough?
No,
Well, it does, that's a whole separate issue though. But don't we have
No benefits.
something that says we can't have alcohol on,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. We,
I
Excuse
thought
me.
we
we've had
did,
all
but
these years, I don't know.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
thought we did.
If
It's
somebody
not-
removed it,
It's not a law, no, by the way, it's not a state statute at all, but I thought there was.
Let me read the
something
email
about-
that I got from
The mayor's the only
Lizette.
one who could vote.
Let me read the email that I got from Lizette.
It might just be-
you
Oh,
celebrating he's
BYOB.
leaving?
Yeah.
I think so.
David Johnson Park KBUs just submit an application to Lee. However, with the drinks under the code, it's prohibited unless mayor and council gives their official approval. The code also says that there is an application to be sent to the clerk, police, and recreation. If the approval is granted, but the ordinance was written about 40 years ago, and I have not come under this type of act. So basically, what I'm asking the mayor and council to ask the permission to, and we will take care of the drinks and we'll clean it up.
Yeah.
Regardless, none of us can vote on that.
The
We're all
6 of us
conflicted.
Yeah, we're all
are all
conflicted.
conflicted.
We can't vote on
The
it.
Oh,
mayor has the
conflicted.
only vote on it.
I don't think so.
No.
Gotta get my last.
We're all members.
We're all
Oh.
members of the.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Come by my party for a drink.
Are you seriously voting us down?
I don't believe we should be serving liquor on borough property. It has nothing to do with your organization. And I think it's self-serving to want to do this, to be honest with you. If you want to have liquor, have it at a place that's off borough property, that's all.
I think we're all conflicted out of this thing.
And
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
quiet.
Well,
Okay.
you were at the Division of Local Government Services, thing on ethics, right?
Thanks.
All right, so with this one,
But we move on from that.
move on, move on.
Library maintenance and construction, did we pretty much take care of that,
My
Laura?
copy.
Lauren?
Lauren?
Okay, so,
Do we-
that's been discussed, we can move on, actually, we can
Great.
take off G, cause we don't need that, and I'll just announce it during.
All right, playground additional
But
equipment.
playground additional equipment, I was talking to our CFO, Susan, and I was asking if we can get another piece of small equipment in the budget, if we had used up all the money that was allocated for 2019. Turns out we did not, and so I would like the ability to, give our rec department or our DPW, actually, it should be Jamie Cannon, to pick something small to go into one of the parks. I know that we were working on Sunnyside, and Sunnyside still has a lot of space in it, and we took out a lot of big climbing pieces. I don't think we could afford a big one, but maybe like a small rock wall or a small climber with rope, something along those lines, and I don't know how much is left, but.
So we have to go through the ordinances, and I think with Bob, we did something for Griffin Park, and we did, was it, and some other park,
That's
was
Yeah,
it?
Griffin.
Griffin.
No, I'm talking.
No, but I mean,
Sunnyside.
the ordinances sometimes are extremely specific. So
Okay.
if it says Griffin Park, it has to be used for Griffin Park. If there's money left in Sunnyside Park, we can do something for Sunnyside Park.
We put money just as a general, playground equipment.
Oh, in this year's
In
budget?
2019.
Okay, so
We
if
put
that,
it in for, also for park,
Tables.
benches and tables, and also, so I want to possibly explore also the garbage cans. Our
Okay.
garbage cans look like they're from the
so
nineteen
that's right.
seventies with those
I
rods.
remember
The
that now.
garbage cans or
Recycling
playground
cans,
equipment, whichever
So
one.
if it's general, you can use
Dan,
it in
do
any
you have
park.
something you,
Okay,
there
No,
should,
she answered it.
Yeah.
so, cause there was a garbage can that's half recycling, half garbage, and I thought that would be a great addition to our playgrounds. You know, obviously, there's been some issues with our patrons of our playgrounds not being, very courteous and, you know, leaving garbage around, so I'm thinking if we increase garbage can presence, maybe the playgrounds will remain cleaner.
Yeah.
The county just got those, they have a solar panel on top of it.
Yeah, they look really good.
That's a
Is
good
that the big,
question. Can we get a
grant?
grant?
I don't know
They
if they're
probably
called.
could.
well, I was gonna say, this is a good
Super
example of
expensive.
where you
They're about
probably can find some money
3,000,
somewhere.
5,000,
Yeah.
Yeah,
5,000.
but I mean, I would like to ideally use it for a
They
piece
price
of
them out
equipment
once.
for the kids
6,000.
in one of the
They're
playgrounds, so
expensive.
let me
They're
know.
nice.
If
Well, I
get
can tell you
three,
what's
get them
left
three for
in each
15.
park
Yeah.
and what
The
is
more you
left
buy,
for
the more you
overall
save.
park
Get
improvements.
6.
Okay, so let's take a look at that and then see what we can purchase before the end of the year.
Okay.
Next item is holiday parade time,
Oh,
Jane?
so we're gonna switch that and then I'm gonna go straight to H. I said I'll do that in my committee reports. The Board of Health would like us to consider drafting an ordinance against the sale of vaping, against the vape, I don't know how, against vapes, is that how you say it?
E-cigarettes and
E-cigarettes.
vaping.
Well, you know something, that's really a purview of theirs.
Yeah.
Why don't they at least give us some guidance as to what they want in it? They could start by finding an ordinance from another town that they think is good, send it to Bill, and let Bill, I don't think anybody,
So they've done that, so they brought it up at the last Board of Health meeting, which is why it's here. And so they would like us to consider adopting a similar type ordinance. I can get you some
Well,
of the
Jersey
things.
City is the one that
Jersey
was
City
the
is
first,
exactly the one.
first one.
Yeah, we were talking about, and it seems to not have had any pushback so far.
Well, pushback from the vendors, obviously.
Right, but I'm saying in terms of legality, I think it's been okay.
how is
Yeah.
it from an enforceability
And
standpoint?
Burnsville also.
Well, it's the sale of, it's not the use of.
Oh,
So
Right,
it's
yeah,
Oh,
it's not,
okay.
not the use of.
It's the sale of
Right.
vapes from some of the businesses in town.
Do we have businesses that sell this stuff?
We do.
7-Eleven.
Let me ask,
7-Eleven?
let me ask
So-
another question. Or is this product also available on the internet?
Yes.
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 So again, and it's not the use of, which falls under our non-smoking ordinance in and around town.
Yeah.
So you could do it privately in your own home, you could do it in your car, just don't do it on our public property. But this would be the sale of the,
Okay.
of the equipment.
And use of it, on borough-owned property.
Well, that falls
That's
under
covered by
non-smoking.
state already.
Right,
It's covered by
It's
state.
non-smoking.
That's our non-smoking ordinance, so
Okay.
that's covered already. Okay,
Next,
so but anyway, so for the good of the order, is anyone interested in this?
yeah, I think everybody's
Let's do it.
interested.
Sure.
Until the state does it, you might as well do it, locally.
Yeah,
Let's go to old business and skateboard ordinance.
We'll see the vaping one before skateboard.
You probably will, but no, you'll see the skateboard one.
Kids will be skateboarding with.
You have to
Well,
vi-
we-
you have
we
to
just
make
to talk
something
about
good
the,
to say it.
It was just a couple of things that you and I have to
Right.
talk about on
Exactly.
that one, and I see the health one was just added, and I'll talk to Lauren about that. But the skateboard one will be done first, I think, actually.
Okay.
I would appreciate it.
It really, I did it already, but
Okay,
I just don't know.
because as far as I'm
That's the
concerned,
first
old
step.
business D is a non-starter until A.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't
move-
even want to talk about it until.
All right.
He's holding it hostage.
That's music to my ears. Let's move to the next one. The pod ordinance?
Oh, no, that's, I talked about that, that's just needs a discussion on a couple of things. We were supposed to do it yesterday, weren't we?
What, the
Right.
pod ordinance?
But
Yeah, right.
I reached out to you today and,
Oh, did you? Well, I was,
but-
Well, none of
Nothing
these
by
things,
West doctors.
none of these things can be done till the next year anyway, so.
yeah, they can be,
Right.
yeah, but
The Board of Health chapter?
That's me, and that's also Bill.
that's what I just said,
Okay.
I said I saw that
Bill,
one
just put it on
added.
your list.
But let's talk about that.
Okay, what is it?
This is so we passed, or we attempted to pass already to have our health inspector impose the fines on the buildings that aren't complying with the health inspection, that have failed. And there's this numerous times that she's going to the same businesses. So the Board of Health wanted this, we wrote it, we discussed it, the council was behind it, and apparently there's nowhere in our ordinances to put
To
it.
put it, yeah, we have to
So
whole
we
new
need a
chapter.
new chapter that's actually Board of Health, and all we have to do, and I wrote the Board of Health chapter ordinance, and I sent it to Bill. Bill,
Yeah, I know, we just have to.
I sent
add
it to
that.
create the new chapter.
Create the new chapter, yeah,
And
on
so-
Board of Health.
Does
yeah.
that have to get approved over 2 meetings?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So,
But that's all in one shot, though. You could create the chapter and.
we did that, I sent you the ordinance, right?
Yeah,
I
you did.
drafted it. I
You
drafted
did,
it.
you did.
Okay.
Well, next year is a leap year, right? So on February the 29th, we could have a meeting just devoted to ordinances, the pod ordinance, the skateboard ordinance,
do
Can we,
before
the
that.
Board
can
of
we
Health
please-
chapter.
It only took 1 year.
Do before that.
Next is the website,
We did that already.
okay, the Borough
Wait,
Hall.
do we seriously wanna discuss D or no?
No.
Okay.
I'm dead serious.
Okay, I support you.
You did serious.
Well, keep in mind that it would make sense to discuss it prior to, or at least during the budget meeting. Because
Yeah.
that would be a
Choose one
potential
concept with
capital
one.
ordinance as well.
Choose one or two.
All right, the Borough Hall Wi-Fi status.
Yeah, that's not,
Lauren and Dan were at the joint use meeting when we brought this up.
Oh,
And,
yes.
you know, once again, it does, has there been a diminishment of the Wi-Fi in the Borough Hall, or are we talking about something that was never where it should be?
Never where it should be.
Exactly.
It's bad, it's inferior service. I can't even get, if I wanna show you what a skate park looks like right now, I can't pull up the internet, I can't use the
Yeah.
internet.
It's inconsistent.
It's,
Inconsistent.
About 10 times tonight, I had to try to reconnect.
So the question becomes, and once again, I think,
just right there.
Mark, the joint
No,
use
no, right
next
there.
year,
I can't get internet.
you have to
You have
look
to
at
deal with
that,
this
you have
issue.
to look at their
No issues.
technology contract.
It's very expensive, by
Because
the
what
way.
what they said was, if you want additional service, you gotta pay for it.
And that's
which-
crazy, we're paying through the nose for this service,
Yeah.
and
Well,
we're not
when-
getting it.
The only thing that they
One's
said
okay,
when
so
I
the
talked to them
potential one.
is you need a new router. A new router is dirt cheap, $100, you put a new router.
In every room,
You don't need, basically, those are repeaters. You need a main router that would be able to broadcast this better. It's not so expensive. You just check it out with the technology people. It's not at like thousands and thousands of dollars.
so the other thing is that, and this is a true
Do you want
concern,
this?
under Oprah, we should have nobody else but the borough that has access to our
Fair point.
documents. Under the Oprah law, and Omar, help me if I'm saying something incorrect, please. We right now have the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed has had its system hacked by students on record numerous times.
Yeah.
That is a violation of our Oprah obligations to keep our information private and secure.
And theirs.
Yeah, but, you know,
It's a problem.
municipalities
Yeah.
get
We don't care
hacked
about
also.
them.
I mean,
And we have been hacked. Our rec department was hacked, and they were posting anti-abortion images on the rec department pages.
Yeah.
And so we know we're being hacked.
That's weird.
And so we're not secure, and I have true concerns about that. You know, other than, you know, the quality of the internet service, I am concerned about our compliance with Oprah. I'm concerned about someone getting into our system. I wanna make sure that our employee computers are secure, are kept private. I wanna make sure Omar and, you know, and our clerk, Lizette is just on top of all of this, and I feel like having the shared service with the BOE, it's very loose. It does raise concerns for me.
So the questions to Omar is
Right,
that,
right.
Do you want
what's
to say
the,
something?
how does it work?
Yep.
What's the legality of sharing services with the Board of Ed?
No,
Correct.
Well, Bill, what's the
What do you
issue?
think?
It's not a problem.
It's not- no, it's not a problem at all.
There is no legal issue.
of course
No
not.
legal issue?
No
Okay.
legal issue
Having a
whatsoever.
shared service with something that's gonna.
You're always gonna host your services on somebody's. You're gonna host with somebody, so that's not an issue.
You know, the problem is, as you see,
You're gonna
countries
get
are
hacked.
getting hacked,
You're gonna
banks are
get
getting hacked. So to
Railroads
say,
are getting
huh?
hacked. The Roselle just got hacked.
I know, so the point of the
The
matter is.
government is getting
Like the
hacked.
CFO there is
The
going
only,
nuts.
the
right now.
only, the only thing that hasn't been hacked
FBI
lately
is
is my
there.
book.
Are you satisfied
Yeah.
with it?
I'm recommending that you all go back to books.
Yeah.
You know, when does our technology contract come up for renewal?
Was this a recent, didn't we just recently?
I
We
think for
renewed it.
2 years or
Yeah,
3 years?
2 years. I think it's like around $120,000.
Do we have it,
Yeah.
we have a technology committee, subcommittee?
Well,
Yeah.
we're supposed to, yes.
I thought Vanu, Jeff, are you on that? No.
Myself,
Vanu?
Lauren, and.
And Mark.
Mark, are you on that subcommittee?
Yes.
Well, my recommendation would be at some point in the new year, if your subcommittee sit down with somebody from Board of Ed to talk about the issues. Maybe get some answers, but I would tell you that, you know, I know
It's an
that
expensive
our
contract.
nut is not an insignificant number,
$120,000.
but you're getting a real bang for your buck. If we went outside
When did
to get our own technology, it would cost us a lot more, and there's no guarantee the service would be that much better.
If you had to have your own servers and
Maintenance.
everything, not just hiring an IT person, because you could hire, an IT person alone would probably cost you
And you have,
$150 a
and you
year.
have to understand that
Yeah.
just
I'll tell
like,
you tomorrow.
you know, there's aspects
I
of
have to tell
the,
you
of the
tomorrow.
contract that we're not 100% pleased with. The same thing goes on the other side of the street. There's people on that board that think we should be paying more. So it's a compromise, it's a shared service, and I would urge you
If
to
neither
look
one
at
is
it as.
happy, we should get
It's not
rid
really a
of it.
shared service.
Yeah, we're on the
It's not a
receiving
shared
end.
service.
It's not really a shared service.
It's
They
90%
they
them.
become basically our vendor,
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
you know, it's.
And it's 90% attention to their needs, and our
Right.
borough is not getting service.
We don't get,
But I
Well,
need
that-
documentation on that.
That's why I would
I need you guys
suggest
to-
that
to
you,
track
your,
it.
There's been
your
minutes
committee
for
meets, but
other,
Lauren, you can't walk all
department
over
heads
them.
who
It's
spoke
not,
up.
you
I'm
know.
not, I'm saying,
No,
I
you're
wanna know
just
what's
saying they're not
happening
meeting
here.
our needs, and, you know, I think
I
that's.
hear
a-
that from our employees. That's what I'm saying, to make documentation, if you're having issues, make sure someone writes it down and tracks it, so we have a
Okay,
sense.
but that's what, I thought that would be the purpose of our committee, our subcommittee.
I'm saying that's not done in our committee, that's done on a internal borough.
Okay.
If you're only paying about $100,000 a year,
120
about
probably around, I think it's around
$120,000 a
120.
year.
Dirt
And
cheap.
for that,
Yeah,
for that
it is.
though,
It's dirt cheap.
right, that's really cheap. So,
Absolutely.
so you can expect, you know, Rolls-Royce service when you're paying for.
Well, if you want more
for a
service,
Fiat.
you gotta pay more. Mark?
I would just say, Susan, I would recommend, you know, make a list of what the issues might be offline, so we
Okay.
understand what
Right.
we're talking about besides Wi-Fi access,
Okay.
right? This way we know what we're dealing with.
You know how much it
The
costs.
last
I
item
understand
on
Wi-Fi.
the, on the
That's
agenda.
it.
And you know how much
Wi-Fi.
it is to host something and maintain it.
Right.
That's important.
Maintenance,
In
help
addition,
desk,
right, that's the
anything
real
internet
expense.
Yeah.
issues,
The
The
question-
servers up
Your
for
mailbox
phones
is full
and
again.
everything
Oh, yeah,
else.
that's a big issue.
you know.
the point is
Size
whether
of
we
our
are willing to
mailboxes.
spend it,
I'm
and
not getting my
Right.
emails.
I say we might be willing to spend it.
The last item on the written agenda is the New Jersey Transit Bus Shelter process. And I think we should be very pleased with the response we got from the DOT. They're willing to provide, we just have to maintain. And I don't think you could ask for something better than that. So the question becomes, what are our needs, what do we want to ask for? And that's something that I think we should talk to our transportation committee, Jeff, as well as our DPW, and get a sense of what the needs are. Could you bring that to their next meeting, please?
One of the things that I was doing, because I know there's tons of people on Engle Street all the time, but one of the things I realized is, given the dimensions of those shelters, there's not space along Engle Street for them.
Too big.
They're too big. They push either onto properties, or people would actually have to walk into the street to be able to enter the shelter. And you'd need at least 3 feet from the curb to the edge of the shelter for handicap access. So then you had more. The only place I saw along that route, just as a quick thought, was the corner of Westervelt and Hyler. At the top where Westervelt turns up, there's a bench there that actually has enough space, and that gets a lot of people, so.
Nice.
How about the top of Westervelt, on the western side, where the
You're
people?
pushing into people's property, there's just not the space there. I mean, I'm going on rough measurement, and I will take it up with the transportation committee, but I
And
don't think there's
on
enough.
Knickerbocker, Knickerbocker was River Edge. That should be a good place on River Edge. Knickerbocker was that's a very.
I was looking at one in Englewood, where it's, I think, Forest and Liberty or something like that. And they actually have it where there's a pocket park there. And so they have the space to set it back properly, do it the right way, allow for access.
Well, you know where we could, there might have been one there a long time ago, is 9W in West Clinton.
There
That
was,
would
they
be
took it
nice.
out, state took it out.
Well, why can't they put
Can
one
we get it
there?
back?
They de-designated that. Remember, we had that whole discussion.
But
Yeah.
I thought they were considering putting it back.
You're right, there's no stop there going southbound,
Right.
but there is a stop going northbound. And then people, if the people survive crossing 9W, then they gotta walk. Okay. All right.
Anyway, I mean, I will
So bring it up
it
to the committee. Anything else before we go into closed session? Silence is golden. Bill, read the closed session. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight.
You can.